Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. The UK at the moment looks to be an actual police state. Under Keir Starmer and his regime, he is policing a lot of people that say things online that he disagrees with. And it should be a huge warning to all of us here in Australia. At the moment, we've got Anthony Albanese as our Prime Minister. And it's not just Anthony Albanese you guys are going to be worried about, because the Liberals are the ones that introduced the misinformation, disinformation bill. And Albanese, even though it is incredibly unpopular, I might add, Albanese wants to push it through Parliament. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of other bills on the floor, and there's not that much time left for sitting Parliament, right? And I hope to God that it does not get passed. It is, once again, a very unpopular bill. He's got to get support of independents, and if he wants it to pass, but nevertheless, the independents, thank God, are going, no, we don't like this. Now, if Australia is not careful, we can end up like the UK, whereby the UK is showing up, police in the UK, I should say, are showing up to your house. If you've said something on Twitter or on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever social media platform, doesn't matter, they're going to show up to your house and arrest you because you've said something that is in disagreement to that radical regime. For example, I don't want to be seeing Palestinian flags waving around in my street. That can cop you a 2-year jail time, but hey, a child abuser or someone that actually uses child abuse material online, they don't get jail time at all. In fact, they're quite happy to roam around your streets. But if you say anything negative about that child abuser online, you can go to jail yourself. Or, for example, you can stand outside of an abortion clinic, not say anything, just you're standing outside of it. And if the abortion clinic doesn't like you loitering around or just standing there, they think you're endangering their process by praying. That should say everything to you. Then the police are going to rock up and arrest you for a thought crime. Yes, that is the UK. And a British man by the name of Winston Marshall, who runs a brilliant podcast, by the way, and he is a very intelligent young man. He's a Grammy winner and former lead guitarist of the British folk rock band Mumford & Sons. He reveals to Americans that people are being imprisoned in the UK and EU for politically incorrect social media posts. So have a watch of Winston Marshall, share his his thoughts about what's going on over in the UK and how he could be arrested if he returns for 2 social media posts that are apparently illegal. Have a watch.
A week ago, my lawyer back home called me up and said 2 of your tweets are technically illegal. You could be arrested when you return. That's not a joke. They've been clearing out the prisons to put in people now for literally Facebook memes. There's someone in prison right now. They cleared out the prisons, by the way, and actual offenders, criminal, violent offenders. One person reoffended the day he left. There's one guy in prison for a Facebook meme for 3 months. There's one woman who's doing 2.5 years for a tweet, right? The free speech is in utter peril. It's a disgrace. It's not just England. It's the whole of Europe. It's unbelievably concerning.
That's a citizen of the UK talking about what is actually going on. It is scary. Freedom of speech in the UK is done. London or England, the UK, whatever you want to say, has fallen. It has turned into a police state. And even Elon Musk is saying Britain is turning into a police state. This is draconian. This is what George Orwell wrote about. You have the Ministry of Truth. And that's what I'm concerned about here in Australia with this governing body that the actual politicians are giving incredible power to police everybody, police their social media posts, to hammer down on stuff that they disagree with, and that they're going to call that misinformation, disinformation. It's unreal. It's absurd. And by the way, before I forget, Tommy Robinson is serving an 18-month sentence at the moment. Why? Because Keir Starmer and his regime in the British political system don't like him at all. They don't like what he has to say. They don't think that He is for people of the UK, even though his supporters absolutely love him. He was arrested, or he turned himself in, and he's been given 18 months. Tommy's not the only one that has been given 18 months for doing absolutely nothing wrong. They're clearing out the prisons, actual violent offenders. They're putting them back out in the street. You heard Winston Marshall. He said a person reoffended a day after he was released. But Keir Starmer and his regime, they don't care about that. I heard a podcast of Nigel Farage. He was talking about how if he doesn't get the Muslim vote, we're going to lose. We need the Muslim vote. We need to make the Muslims happy. Otherwise, we're going to lose. It's inevitable if we don't get it. Say, to me, that is concerning. That is dangerous. So the Muslims can get away with almost everything. Christians, they can't. Anyone that has a brain or common sense in the UK that says something on social media that the government disagrees with, they can rock up at your house and arrest you because they don't like what you had to say. That's what happens in North Korea. That's what happens in Russia. That's what happens in China. This is what happens in police states. This is also what happens when the people give the government way too much power. We, the people, in a democratic society, should not allow these so-called politicians that we elected to get away with policing us. Freedom of speech is a human right. If you want to say certain things that are harmful to people, like actually harmful, if you want to incite violence, you can say it, but the consequences thereafter, you're going to have to bear, because that's what living in a free democratic society means. It means that I'm going to defend your right to say whatever you want to say, but the consequences thereafter, it's totally up to you whether or not you want to face them or not. But there are consequences to the things that we say, good or bad, especially when it comes down to incitement of violence or actually hate, real hate speech and everything else. But the government wants to police all of that and say, I'm going to dictate what misinformation is, disinformation is. You can't say anything. Because if you do say it, anything that we disagree with or don't like, can be whatever it is, we're going to arrest you and we're going to put you in prison. For disagreeing with the Palestinian protesters, we're going to throw you in prison. This is what's going on in the UK, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to happen here in Australia if we're not careful. If we don't continue to speak up, voice our concerns, letting our local members know. Now, I know a lot of people are going, oh, what is letting our local members going to do? They're just going to do it anyway. No, you have a right as a citizen of Australia or even the UK. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK, but here in Australia, you have a right to voice your concern, because last time I checked, it's still a democratic society. Last time I checked, we haven't gone that authoritarian yet, although it's right around the corner, you ask me, if we allow it to. I agree with Winston Marshall. He's seeing this in the UK and the EU. And we've got spineless politicians like Anthony Albanese and even the Liberals who are just as bad as each other, man. Don't be fooled. They're just as bad as each other. The Liberals are the ones that introduced this bill, and Labor just took it to the extra mile. They've made it worse. So you think the Liberals are about freedom of speech? No, they're not. You had the shadow minister for the Liberals say that we need this bill to be passed. It's no wonder that it passed the Senate with flying colours, flying support from both Labor and the Liberals. They don't care because they're politicians. Their speech is not policed. It's only the speech of myself and other people alike. Crazy, isn't it? It's absurd. It's nuts. It's wild. It's all these things that I could say, but we need to actually do something about it. Otherwise, freedom of speech in Australia, we're going to become authoritarian. It's going to become like George Orwell's 1984. And I don't want to see that happen. A work of fiction, man, turned into reality. Crazy. Anyway, if you're Christian, continue to pray. You guys take care. You be blessed. And I'll see you all in the next video.